So welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn, Financial Basics for Seniors. Today's Lunch and Learn is brought to you by Age Friendly Edmonton. For those who are joining us for the first time, Age Friendly Edmonton is an initiative of the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council supported by the City of Edmonton and is part of a global movement to build age-friendly cities and communities. Edmonton is a city that recognizes the diverse populations and needs of seniors and actively supports their inclusion, engagement, and well-being. I want to acknowledge that the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council is in Treaty 6 and on the traditional lands of the Cree, Blackfoot, Iroquois, Dene, Nakota Sioux, Métis, and Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe nations. We acknowledge and respect the past, present, and future generations of all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people who continue to strengthen Edmonton and Canada. There are a number of housekeeping items that we need to take care of before I introduce our speaker for today. Please keep muted for the duration of the presentation. This session will be recorded and can be viewed later on the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council's YouTube channel. I will have Megan put the link in the chat for us. So thank you for doing that. If you have comments or questions as they come to mind during the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat. It's that little bubble at the bottom of your screen. We will do our very best to answer them at the end of the presentation during our question and answer time as time allows. Now, for the benefit of those who find closed captioning helpful, you can access the captioning at the bottom of your screen. There is 3 little dots on your screen. You click on that and then click on captions, and that will automatically enable your captioning. So with all that aside, my name is Caroline G. I am the Age-Friendly Community Connector with the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to our presenter. His name is Mr. Eric Story, an active volunteer in the Edmonton community and has worked tirelessly to improve the lives of seniors, gender minority groups, and at-risk youth. Eric is currently a member of the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council's Board of Directors and has been serving on the Age-Friendly Edmonton Leadership Table and Diversity Hub since 2018. Eric has a degree in commerce and obtained his Bachelor of Social Work after he retired from his professional career. Eric was also part of the creation of the Seniors Financial Empowerment Network, a collaborative program among a number of Edmonton organizations who developed and delivered financial literacy workshops to seniors in the Edmonton community. The program was designed to provide older adults with information to help protect themselves from financial abuse and fraud, and as well as to help them prepare for the future. So without further ado, our speaker today, Eric Story.
Good morning, everybody. Just one moment while I let me think. Okay, now I can share my screen. There we are. I hope everybody can see that. There we are. So thanks for the introduction, and thank you everybody for coming today. I will try to answer as many questions as possible, but here's our agenda for the day, talking about pensions, budgeting, banks, cost of money, taxes, and keeping it safe. And that we always need to have, no matter what type of presentation I do, I always throw in something about keeping it safe, because there seem to be an awful lot of people out there who seem to think that they have a right to part of your money. So please keep that in mind at all times. So turning 65, I think most of us are, 65, like myself, is a long way in the rearview mirror, but you might have some younger friends or relatives who will be turning 65 in the next couple of years. Just like to mention a couple of things, and that is that Old age security, because you become eligible for it in Canada at age 65. But it takes the federal government a little while to process stuff. So my advice to everybody is enjoy your 64th birthday, but the day after, start your applications, because there can be some complications about if you spent a great deal of time outside of Canada. If you immigrated to Canada in your 30s or something like that, these things can cause a few problems. All of these problems are resolvable. There's not a problem. There's not an issue about it, but it does take time. And the last one is, and I'll touch on this again later in the conversation, but sometimes people are a little bit behind in filing their taxes. Life happens. People have depression, anxiety, stress, busy lives. They might not have filled in their taxes last year, and then this year they say, oh my God, what am I going to do? I didn't fill my taxes last year, so on. The advice I give to everybody on this, just briefly, is the good news is CRA isn't allowed to yell at you anymore. So there's a good incentive to get your taxes done, because you need them in order to qualify for some of the pensions. So we'll just leave it at that. Stacked pension benefits, most people know about this. Old age security, that's everybody who has lived in Canada for 40 years prior to turning 65 qualifies for the full amount. If, for example, you immigrated to Canada 20 years ago, or 20 years before you turned 65, then you would qualify for 20/40ths, or half of that full amount. That amount is currently $687 a month. So that's the basic. Canada Pension Plan depends on what you've contributed over your working life, or if you were the primary caregiver until age 7 of children born after 1958. The government considers that being the primary caregiver for a bunch of young children as work. I fully agree with that. So they credit that, some of that, on your Canada Pension Plan. Guaranteed income support is something that some people don't seem to know about. Is that if, for example, you are entitled to the full old age security, but you never worked, never had children, you don't qualify for anything under the Canada Pension Plan, you may qualify for up to $1,000 a month from the Guaranteed Income Support Program. So what you qualify on Guaranteed Income Support depends on what Canada Pension Plan and old age security add up to. For us Albertans, there's another advantage called the Alberta Seniors Benefit, which, depending on what those bottom 3 add up to, may qualify you for about $285 a month. But the important part about the Alberta Seniors Benefit is there are some other benefits for low-income seniors. There's some other benefits that might apply, such as dental care, has assistance on paying for hearing aids, or glasses, and so on. So if you do qualify for Alberta Seniors Benefit, it's not just the monthly amount. There are some other benefits available as well. So we'll touch on that briefly. But the biggest thing in terms of knowing where you are, knowing where you're going, is knowing where you are. And budgeting is a difficult. Nobody likes to sit down and write out a budget, because it means dealing with reality. And I know I don't enjoy dealing with reality, so it's a little bit difficult, but it's really important to know where you stand. And so we start with fixed versus variable costs. Fixed costs, they are, just as the expression goes, your rent, your monthly mortgage payment, your car payments, other things. Those are, I know we're dealing with increased interest rates right now, but in theory, think of them as being fixed expenses, because you can't avoid them. You have to pay rent each month, you have to pay your mortgage payment or property taxes, or so on. Those are fixed. The variable ones are, should I be going to Safeway to buy some food for dinner tonight, or should I be eating out? That's a variable decision. And so, just grouping your expenses of these ones are the fixed costs, these ones are the variable. And so I can't do anything about the fixed costs, but I know I might be able to influence some of those variable costs. And this is just a quick off the top example, but you know, here is, it states what the incomes are. In this case, somebody actually worked a little bit, so they got an extra $150 that month. Then we get down into the fixed expenses, rents or mortgage, utilities. You can tell I did this slide a long time ago because I don't think anybody is currently paying $100 a month for utilities, but that's it. Transportation, that might be a tank of gas a month or a bus pass or something like that. But then we start to get into more of the variable. As I said, groceries or food. Are you eating out? Are you cooking for yourself? That is a decision. Clothing, entertainment is a big one. And I always tell people, you know, yes, it's important to live within your means. Yes, it's important to live within a budget, but you can't be a monk as well. You have to try to find some enjoyment, some low cost or free things, hopefully for entertainment, but that is a variable cost. The next item is savings, and this is really important because we are always going to have an oops in our life, an unexpected, you know, your pet needs to go to the veterinarian, just a photo radar ticket, a lot of things that can come up that I hadn't really planned. And if you're planning that my income each month is exactly the same as my expenses each month, you've got no room if something comes up unexpected. So that's really, I highly suggest that everybody put a savings line in their budget and just try, even if it's only $5 or $10 a month, it does build up over time. So that's really about all there is. Now we get into some money saving tips, and you'll see on the right-hand side there, because I think everybody, I thought this was important to include because everybody is under a little bit of stress right now with the cost of inflation. So the first is on the right-hand side there is a screenshot of the application FLIP, F-L-I-P-P. And when you first, if you visit it on the web, the first thing it will ask you to do is type in your postal code, and then it gives you all of the flyers for that week. You see down on the left-hand side of the column here that, you know, it says all flyers, and then groceries, home and garden, pharmacy, general merchandise, and so on. Under groceries, there is every single, you can see there's Save on Foods, H&W Process, Safeway. I just cut it in order to fit it on this slide, but you can click on any one of those icons and you will see, for example, the Safeway flyer for this week. So you can find out what's on sale. And so these are some of the tips that I gathered from a CBC program. One is shop your pantry and freezer first. I have a lot of, you know, whenever I get to the bottom of my freezer, oh golly, I didn't realize I still had that there. So I think it's important to really go through and see what is in your freezer or pantry. You might have forgotten something, but then plan your meals based on what you have. And a friend of mine who's much more organized than I am says that the first day of each quarter, so January 1st, April 1st, July 1st, and so on, they go through their pantry and they clear out everything and say, I'm going to use all of this stuff over the next little while. It's good, keeps food from spoiling. And again, it's a way of making use of what you have. Tracking your spending, well, we already talked about budgeting and how important a factor that is. There is a suggestion that you go through and review your credit card and your bank debit statements for the past 3 months to get a really good handle on what you've been spending on food and where it is. The next one, learning the sales cycle. things tend to cycle, going on sale every 6 to 8 weeks. If you watch the flyers on a fairly regular basis, you will see that every once in a while yogurt shows up, every once in a while cheese shows up, every once in a while this shows up, and use that as possible. Most store pricing matching, most stores will match prices. If you are regularly shop at Save On Foods and you have a copy of the Walmart flyer and you see that they've got, I don't know, pork tenderloin on for $3.99 a pound or something, you can ask at Save On Foods, will you match this price? Most stores will. Bulk buys, teaming up for bulk buys, that's maybe with your neighbor. If you're single and your neighbor is single, maybe you might go through and buy a larger box or a larger quantity of things at the store and then split them so it becomes a reasonable amount for each of you. One of the expressions that I've known for an awful long time is a caution that Costco is the most expensive cheap food you'll ever buy, because I don't know anybody that walks out of a Costco store with a bill of under $100, and usually it's unplanned. So if you do think of going to Costco to do some shopping, recognize that the package sizes are much bigger. You'll have to either break them down and freeze them, or break into small portions so it doesn't spoil, and make the best use of what you have. And that's one of the things that just throw in, that an awful lot of our food expense for an average household is food spoilage, that we don't use all of the food that we buy and that we'll end up throwing some out. And that comes to the best before date. On a tinned good, best before is really a suggestion. So you can stretch those dates a little bit. Be cautious about best before and expiry. Expiry dates, something like chicken or other meat, you don't want to keep that in your fridge any longer. In fact, I always, if I buy chicken, I always take the package apart and freeze them that day, because even waiting until the best before date on a package of chicken breasts or something, if you wait till the best before date and open it up, there's a little bit of an odor there. And then too expensive, don't buy it. Well, is this thing that you're looking at, is it a necessity or a cheat? What items are similar that might give you the same level of satisfaction that don't cost quite as much, or at the end just say, I can't afford it, walk away. Reward programs are good, and yes, they capture your spending patterns and all the rest of it, but I'm not overly concerned about the government or some foreign agency knowing that I like buying yogurt and cheese on sale. So the PC Optimum point system is, you gather 10,000 points, and that's good for a $10 discount on your next shopping. It all adds up, even if you're shopping only as a single person. So those are some of the suggestions on how to save money. On how to save money on home ownership, well, just quickly going through these: reverse mortgage and life lease. A reverse mortgage is basically you're pre-selling a portion of your house and getting that money, and then you're charged interest on the money that you've received, but you only have to settle it out when you actually sell your house. So, and these reverse mortgages can be arranged so that you get a lump sum payment, that you sell 40% of the value of your house, you get that as a lump sum payment, or you might be able to tell them that you want to receive $400 a month as part of that payment package. It's completely up to you. The only thing about reverse mortgages is basically you are pre-selling a portion of your house. You wouldn't sell your house without consulting a lawyer. You shouldn't enter a reverse mortgage without consulting a lawyer. So that's the first thing. A life lease at some retirement option at retirement villages. Sometimes this is an option where you are basically investing $300,000 or $200,000 or $100,000 into the cost of that unit, and because of that, your monthly rent is reduced. And that's the simplest explanation of what a life lease is. The Seniors Home Adaptation and Repair Program is run by the government of Alberta, and it's to allow seniors to have a little bit more working capital while they're, Seniors Home Adaptation and Repair. I got lost on that one. It's to allow people to stay in their home a little bit longer by being able to borrow money at a reduced rate of interest. In some cases, it can be an absolute grant if your income is less than $75,000 a year. And that can be to try to adapt your home so that it's easier to remain in your same residence, provided, of course, your main residence still suits your needs. The RAMP program is, again, I think of this, and I think the name is so self-explanatory, because if somebody is using a wheelchair or a four-wheel walker or something like that, they can apply for this RAMP access program. And it is up to it's a grant, up to $7,500 a year for a maximum of $15,000. So you might spend a little bit on a ramp from the outside to your front door today, and then next year on a split level, perhaps a ramp from one floor to the next. For that one, though, it's a lower income program. As a single, your income needs to be under $37,000, but it's a good program, and as I say, it's a grant. The Seniors Home Property Tax Deferral, it simply allows you to say, I don't want to pay my property taxes this year. I'll just let them add up, and when I go to sell my house, then I will pay off all of the property tax that's accumulated. It's a government of Alberta program. Currently, it was a bargain. They were only charging 3.45% on the deferred taxes. It's now up to 5.45%, but it's still a good deal. I mean, the difference of my property taxes are roughly $300 a month. So if I defer my property taxes, that's an extra $300 a month for me to have available for spending. So it's a consideration. Again, similar to the other programs, a lien is registered on your property. So when you finally go to sell your house, you have to pay back that money to the Alberta government plus accrued interest before the house can be released. But it's not a problem. It's a good program if it helps you stay in a home that suits your needs. And this is always the important part. I love this place. I've been living here for 30 years, but does it still suit my needs? Always a question that's only people can add. Then total cost of home ownership. And for this, a lot of people, have sometimes said to me, well, look, I'm living in my own house. It's paid for. Why should I go and start paying rent instead of living in my own home? And again, my first question is always, does your home still fit your needs, in terms of transportation, access to doctors or medical services, transportation, so on? Does it still fit your needs? If it does, you have a look at this as, you start to add up what all of the expenses are. Again, this is a chart that I did quite a long time ago, because I only consider gas to be at $75 a month, and electricity and water cheap as well. But again, it adds up. A lot of people don't really add up what all of these expenses are. Yes, your mortgage is already paid off, but you still have these ongoing expenses. And then you know, even if you're managing quite well, when was the last time you replaced your furnace or a water heater or reshingled your roof? These are the types of oops. Whenever, you know, when I was doing social work and I'd be talking to a senior and they landed up in a bit of a financial crisis, it was usually because there was an unexpected expense that came along and hit them and they were not prepared for it. So yes, staying in your house is always an attractive proposition, but there are also a lot of other opportunities for good quality of life living that, you know, maybe keeping up a house, getting out and clearing the eaves troughs every fall and doing those sorts of things. Maybe those are things that you shouldn't do. In terms of, in the case of a condo, some of the considerations are, what is the current state of the reserve fund? Could you be subject to a special assessment? You might get a note from the condo association that we need to replace the roof on the whole condo complex, and so you are going to be assessed a special charge of an extra $20,000 or $30,000. What would that do to you? And just one other caution about condos is, because democracy rules, you would probably want to buy a condo where other people are in more or less the same economic situation as you are. Higher income folks may want to have a higher standard of landscaping, appearance, or facilities in the condo than you do. But unfortunately, if most of the people in the condo can afford these extra facilities, if you're a member of that condo, then you're going to have to pay just like everybody else. So just a word of caution along those lines. Banking. We're more than halfway done here, so bear with me. Senior banking, you can have a look. There's a lot of different banks offer different account options for seniors, some at no charge, but some of the no charge seniors accounts also add on extra charges for some services. And so it's really important to have a look and see exactly what your account, what type of account, how they deal with all of these charges. Do you get extra charges, or are they included? Withdrawals from ATMs. This is a classic example. I helped a lady who was in real financial, you know, really tight financially, and she lived in a rather sketchy neighborhood, so she never wanted to carry very much money. So there was an ATM machine at the 7-Eleven close to her house, so she'd just go and take out $20 or $30 at a time. She brought in her bank statements, and I saw that the extra charges she was paying on banking was like $90 a month. Simple, you know, using an ATM at a 7-Eleven or another convenience store, you know, there's the machine itself, or the machine owner will charge $4 or $5, and then your bank will charge you an extra $1.50 or $2 for that transaction. Something to really watch out for. So these are all some of the factors when you look at an account to see what do they charge for these various services in this free account. And if there's another account that costs $10 a month, but you would save more than $10 a month because you wouldn't have to pay any of these charges, these are things that are worth looking at. Banking can be quite expensive, but you know, it's a convenience factor. Cost of money. The most expensive money you can buy is from a cash store, payday loans. In the olden days, they used to charge up to 593% on the loans. Now, the government quite a few years ago changed it, so now they are limited to only charging 59.9%. It is very expensive, and some of the exposés that I've seen on television have said that the folks in these cash stores are trained to tell you, well, listen, you know, you've paid off this loan. Why don't you need a little bit more money? Why don't we just roll this over so that you're continuously in debt to the cash stores? I recognize that sometimes as an emergency happens, this might be the only option that you have. If that is the option, use it, be mindful of using it, and put in mind a very firm state of mind that we are going to pay this off, pay that cash store off as quickly as possible. Credit cards. Well, you know, if you pay off your credit card every month, you don't get charged any interest. But if you do have to pay interest, if you have an outstanding balance, there's two things that you should know about. One is that the interest rate on these cards is outrageous. So a lot of credit cards are currently charging 25%. And like I said, if you pay off your credit card every month, then you don't pay interest. But if you have an outstanding balance and you buy something else on that credit card tomorrow, you start paying interest on that purchase tomorrow. You don't have a free period as you would as if you had paid off your credit card completely. So recognize if you have an outstanding balance, every single thing that you add onto that balance, you start paying interest on right away. So loans or lines of credit are about the cheapest money that you can have. And unfortunately, if you're a little bit behind and you're, you know, owing credit cards and cash stores money, it's difficult to sit down and figure it out. But again, that's the challenge of facing reality that I have and other people share as well. But if you can say, here's what I owe, and go to the bank and see if you can get a line of credit, you may land up, you know, if you have $15,000 outstanding on a credit card at 25 or 26%, you may be able to get a line of credit from the bank for maybe even 12 or 11%, which sounds fairly high. But if you take that loan at 12 or 11% and pay off your credit card, you're far, far better. You do see ads for companies that say, we will help you repair your credit immediately. You know, no trouble for you, we'll repair your credit. You have to be really careful about that. Your credit score depends on, have you paid your bills on time? Do you have outstanding bills that have gone into arrears? Have people had to go to collection agencies to get money from you? Those are the things that negatively affect your credit. Now, sometimes on your credit report, there can be a wrong entry. And the credit companies are that you can check your credit report through Equifax and through TransUnion. And if there is a faulty statement on there, like, you know, someone had to take you to court to get a judgment, and that's not right, you can write to them and ask them to remove that. They'll investigate it. They normally take up to 30 days to do anything. But a credit repair agency will normally charge you for the service, and they may lie. They may say, we will remove accurate negative information from your file, or we'll help you legally create a new credit identity. Or if they demand payment before they provide any type of service, or if they guarantee improved credit, be very, very cautious. Again, the best way to repair your credit is to pay your bills on time, and to lower the amount of outstanding debt that you have. Very simple. Debt relief. Well, certain point we might get behind on things and it looks unmanageable. There is a company in Alberta called Money Mentors, and they do credit counseling. There's a few companies that do credit counseling, but the reason I mentioned Money Mentors is one specific thing. That there is in Alberta, there is something called an orderly repayment of debt program. Now, if you have debts to a whole bunch of different people and you go to Money Mentors will look at your situation, and if they feel it's appropriate, they will go to the creditors and say, look, this person is almost buried. They may have to declare bankruptcy, but if we can get you to agree to an orderly repayment of debts, that will avoid going into bankruptcy, so you'll get your money, but maybe not the same interest rate that you're currently charging. The orderly repayment of debt program, all of your creditors need to agree to it. But if they all do, your loans, all of your debts are bundled together. You pay Money Mentors. Money Mentors looks after paying all of your debtors. The interest rate is fixed at 5%. And the companies that you owe money can't be phoning you and bugging you at 3 o'clock in the morning to pay your bills. So it's very good. Bankruptcy, it's a last resort. People always say, oh, don't declare bankruptcy, your credit will be ruined. Well, guess what? If you're at that area where you've got huge outstanding debts and you've got creditors calling you and all the rest of it, your credit score is already very, very bad. So bankruptcy is one way out. You do need to go through a credit counseling process first, which is why you would want to talk to a company like Money Mentors or someone before you went to a bankruptcy agent. But that's really it. I'm just going to talk really quickly about this credit. This is a credit card calculator. I do have resources, some other calculators available, but this one is really a very, very good picture of what it takes. So suppose you have a balance of $3,000, interest rate at 21%, which is a very good rate for a credit card company nowadays. And you have choices if you pay only the interest or if you pay a monthly payment. So, and this is assuming that you don't add any more debt, but if you have a $3,000 balance at 21%, and you were to pay $75 a month, it would take you 5.8 years to pay off that debt, and you would pay an interest in addition to the $3,000 that you'd owe. You would pay interest of $2,200. So there are various calculators out. I would suggest having a look at them. Credit cards are very, very handy, but can be absolutely disastrous in sucking money from your account. This is a sort of table that when you went to a credit agency, they would look at and just list off all of your creditors, how much you owe, what the interest rate is, and what their minimum balance is. And the credit companies will figure out which is the best one to pay off first, how to work on a logical procedure. That's the best feature about dealing with a credit counseling agency, is they will help you create a clear picture of a way out of your current situation. May be painful, it may not be the one that you wanted, but they will help you get out of that situation. Simple taxes, again, things happen. It's really important to have your taxes on file, filed and up to date. If you do have them up to date, then you do qualify for the climate action rebate, the GST repayment, and also you're eligible for your pensions. So if you're behind, please, I know that people associate an awful lot of shame with this, but it's just go to an agency to help bring your taxes up to date. If you're a low-income senior, there is a program called Make Tax Time Pay, and there's a lot of agencies around town who will file your taxes for you for free, as long as you don't have like investment, rental properties or a farm or something like that. If it's a straightforward filing, they will help you do it. And there are some who I have helped people file like 7 years of back taxes. And the thing is that knowing that you have outstanding taxes to file, it's a stress that you feel every single day. Get it done, bite the bullet. If you're a low income senior, there's a good chance that you'll end up not owing any money, or maybe very little. But even if you do owe money, the longer it takes you to file your taxes, the more that money is going to build up, and Revenue Canada charges interest and so on. So I won't talk too much more about the TFSA is a tax-free savings account. You can put up to $6,500 into that account every year, and it can grow without, you don't have to pay interest. You don't have to pay taxes on the interest or the investment income that you get from that each year. RRIF is Registered Retirement Income Fund, that in the year you turn 71, if you have an RRSP, it needs to be converted to a RIF, RRIF. And so the idea is that over the next 25 years or so, that you have to take out an increasing amount out of that RIF each year. And you have to pay tax on it, of course, because when you contributed to your RRSP, you didn't pay tax on the money that you contributed to the RRSP. So when you take it out as a RIF, you do have to pay taxes on it, but it's a type of private pension. Almost done here for a moment. Just recognize that at some point, we may have to have somebody help us make decisions on money. And this is something that you really need to look into carefully. There's a whole other presentation on this, but basically a power of attorney, if I'm of sound mental capacity and I can understand the implications of providing a power of attorney to someone else, then I can sign off that and make that decision. The same with a personal directive. If I had a stroke or for some reason I lost mental capacity tomorrow, it's too late. I can no longer understand the implications of signing that document. So instead of having a power of attorney as a voluntary thing, it has to go through the court as a trusteeship. The same with your personal directive. If a personal directive isn't signed while you have capacity, then if you've lost capacity, then it needs to go through the court as a guardianship process. In any of these cases, who you choose to be your attorney or your guardian in terms of the personal directives or the power of attorney, recognize that there's a possibility for financial abuse. So you really need to be very careful about who you select to do this for you. Frauds and scams, again, just be really careful about who you're talking to, and always recognize that there are going to be people who think you have too much money, they have too little, and they're just trying to balance that equation. So instant wins, if you haven't entered a lottery, there's no chance that you won. So all of these emails that I get that say, congratulations, I've won the mystery shopper award or any other benefits, don't do it. Text and emails and phone calls from Canada Revenue Agency, be very, very careful of. Almost all of them are bad. That's really coming down to the Alberta affordability checks. I'm almost done here. If you're receiving AFE, or you're on the Alberta Seniors Benefit, or you have you're under the PDD, Persons with Developmental Disabilities program, you don't need to apply. You'll get this automatically. For seniors who are 65 or older and whose household income is below 180,000, you need to apply. The application process opened this morning, and it will pay $100 a month for the next 6 months. Really, I suggest you make your application. And here we are at the end, which is, these are some of the resources I've gotten. Caroline has agreed to email this out to everybody after our maybe over the next week or so after our presentation. But the government of Canada has got fantastic financial tools of credit card calculators, mortgage calculators, all sorts of things. Again, under debt and borrowing, more options available. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Center has got great descriptions of various frauds and scams that are going on. Money mentors are the people that I talked about previously. They are the folks who can help you work through an orderly repayment of debts, or just go through credit counseling to say, here's where we are, what do we need to do to change this picture? And then finally, the Alberta Seniors Financial Program, Alberta Seniors Benefit. That's where it is. And then last, the Affordability Action Plan. If you're old enough to remember Ralph Bucks, I'm calling these Danny Bucks. And that's it. That's my complete presentation. I appreciate that I whipped through those things really quickly. Thank you for indulging me. But if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to respond to anything that I can.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eric. That was a wonderful presentation. And I learned something every time. I think I sat in on a senior Saturday earlier this year, and there was good information there. And I noticed, I think you added a slide on money savings. I love that slide. It's a great slide, and I've been using the app, and it works wonderfully. If you want to get to look at your weekly flyers, it's all there. So I can attest that it's a great little app if you can download that and use that. Yeah, so time for some questions. There's nothing in the chat at the moment, but I do have somebody with their hand up. And I'm wondering, I'm just going to whip through here and see who else. Okay, yeah, we do have one question here from Rosemary. Rosemary, if you could unmute yourself, and you're welcome to ask the question directly to Eric.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. Caroline, I have unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, and Eric, yes, go ahead.
Good. My question is, I am obviously a senior, and I'm on all of these programs that were mentioned, the GIS, CPP, and the ASB, but I'm still having problems getting dental and eye care help. They say I make too much money, but the only money I really make is what the government is sending me, and I've talked to them about it, and they say basically it's so sad, too bad, it is what it is. But I don't get it. They've now given me this year the Alberta Seniors Benefit, which in my limited understanding seems to only exacerbate the problem. Because if I didn't qualify last year when I wasn't getting the seniors benefit, it seems like I'll never qualify to be able to get dental help or eye vision care help. Is there something I'm missing, or is that just the way it is?
Yeah, I'm very sorry to say that. I mean, it's a government, the Alberta Seniors Benefit is a government program, and government programs, as we all know, have very, very strict considerations on them. And one of them is the income limits. So, yeah, if, you know, they just say they look at your notice of assessment from Revenue Canada, I'm so old that I still call it Revenue Canada, it's
Yeah.
CRA. But they look at what your annual income is each year and then determine the benefits on that. And if they say that, I'm sorry, your income is too high, that's it. There's no way around. The one thing that I can say is that of any government agency that I've ever done business with, and as a social worker, I've had quite a few conversations with quite a few different agencies, Alberta Seniors Benefit are the most helpful people around. So if you ask them, is there any other way? Is there anything different that I could do to help qualify? They will tell you the best legal answer that they can. And unfortunately, it usually comes down to, unfortunately, you're earning a little bit too much money for this to apply. That's really, I'm afraid there's no other way around it. I do see, so sorry, Rosemary, that's the best answer I can give you.
Great, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay, thanks.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that, Rosemary, and thank you, Eric, for answering that question. I just went to our chat and there are a few other things in the chat. I'll go with the first one. Who to choose as POA, is
POA.
a power of attorney.
Power of attorney. Yeah. If you have a trust company, like an investment firm or a trust company, some will agree to act as a power of attorney for a fee. The other possibility, unfortunately, is the what's the name? Office of the Public Guardian, who can act as a power of attorney or a guardianship on your behalf. But unfortunately, this is a huge gap in coverage, particularly for those who are single, who don't have children, who don't have a close friend that they can rely on. It's either go to the trust company or investment company who holds your RIF or your RRSP to ask if they can do that, or to go through the Office of the Public Guardian. Unfortunately, that's it. Anne Brown has a question. I'm sorry, I'm reading.
Oh, that's okay. That's
here.
okay. I can read the question. You're
Okay.
you're right on track here. Anne asked the question: which program in Alberta do we need to apply for so that our prescription costs are limited to approximately $25 per?
That is through the Alberta Seniors Benefit, or what did I call it that's what I usually call it. I need to look up to see what the official description of it is. Bear with me for just 1 second here. Alberta Seniors Financial Assistance Program. Alberta Seniors Benefit is the program. It will, if your monthly copay, so if we have our Blue Cross cards as seniors, so we pay 30% copay on every prescription. If your copay adds up to more than $25 a month, then through the Alberta Seniors Benefit, they can cover that excess. And so that was it.
Great. Yes, thank you for answering that, Eric. Excellent. I have one more question in the chat, and I'll just read it out loud. I have heard that banks are a poor place to get financial advice because they get commissions. I can't see that other word. I don't know if you can see it, Eric.
Yeah.
They get commissions on selling you their products, right? What do you recommend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is a challenge. Unfortunately, everybody who is in the business, it seems that everybody who is in the business of being a financial advisor also gets a commission for being a financial advisor, and that includes banks and so on. Banks will get a commission if they sell you mutual funds or other RRSP products, guaranteed guaranteed investment certificates, GICs, and so on. There really is not, I don't know of anywhere else where you can get any of this commission free. Even going through a stockbroker, when you buy a mutual fund, mutual funds tend to be either back end loaded or front end loaded. So your first $1,000 that you invest in, either a percentage of that is going to go to your advisor for recommending this product, and that's a front end load, or a back end load is every month when you make more contributions to this, a certain amount of that is going to go to the advisor. I guess the only way is to read as much as possible, pay attention to CBC has got some good programs on money management and so on. Listen to that, and basically go to your bank and be. I suggest banks as the front line, unless you've got $1 million or a couple of million, and you can deal with financial advisors. But to go to the bank and be right up front and say, I know that you are going to charge me a commission on mutual funds or whatever investment products that we talk about. Tell me what those commissions are and how we can minimize that so I can get the best use of my money. And just to be really straight and upfront with people in that manner. That's the best I can do.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And we've come to the end of our Lunch and Learn for today. We're right on time. It's 12:59. And now if I'm just going to go to our slide here, and just a second here. I'm having problems advancing the slide again. I had that earlier and I kind of, oh, it's not working for me. Oh, there we go. If you have questions after our session today, please feel free to email me at agefriendly@seniorscouncil.net. I often do that after a presentation. Oh, I should have asked that question. So feel free to email me, and if I can't answer the question, I will direct it to Eric, and Eric can help with answering any additional questions that you have. We will also have a short survey about this event, and I will be sending that out probably tomorrow morning. And I just want to thank you for, in advance, for taking the time to complete it. In that survey, I will also attach a sheet, just a Word document with the resources that Eric had on his last slide, so that you have it for your reference. And also, if I could ask Eric, or not Eric, but Megan, if you could put the email address in the chat for us, that would be wonderful, so people can have that for them, for you. And I'll see if it's not advancing.
Technical challenges.
There we go. Technology. I went to the next. So I'd like to promote our Age-Friendly Edmonton Lunch and Learn. Our next one is Wednesday, February the 15th at this time, 12 to noon, or 12 to 1 p.m. Pardon me. The title of this presentation will be Employment and Engagement Transitions, and we're still planning that one out. And please look for more information on the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council website. You can also subscribe to our link letter on our website as well. It's chocked full of great information. Or you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and on Twitter. And if I can ask Megan to put the URL in the chat for people, and they can have access to that. So thank you again for coming, and enjoy the rest of your day. The sun is shining, and thank you very much for your time.